Kwe Kwe Greetings, and welcome to another video. I wanted to do the video tonight, starting with a screen share that has kind of got me in my feelings. So, if you will, I'm going to just go right into the screen share and just take a moment, and I'll try to speak to it, but I think I just want it to be seen. So here we go. Okay. So we're looking at the Black's Law Dictionary, the 1891. This is the first, move over. This is the first and second edition in one book. So this is from my Kindle. I purchased this book. So next I'm going to, well, I want to show you the page we're on. This is page 223, and I believe this is the second edition of it. And as you can see, the definition here, well, you don't see it, it's here. Colored man. There is no legal technical signification in this phrase, which the courts are bound to judicially know. So I got a close-up of that. I just want to cite the page, 223. And then we're gonna go to an even closer shot. That's the, actually, no, this is the first edition we're looking at. Apologies, because I brought two. Well, it looks like this is the first edition. Okay, so I have the first and second edition, but let's get that close up. And I want to have a moment with what we're looking at, colored man. Now, one of the things that crossed my mind as I looked at this, and for the first time, I saw, now this is the Black's Law Dictionary. So this is it's defining legal terms, or how terms are looked at in the law. So I looked at this definition, and I knew that it was speaking to the fact that when we call ourselves by these kind of misnomers, as you can see, there is no legal technical signification in this phrase, which the courts are bound to judicially know. So the courts don't have to judicially recognize someone who calls themselves colored. But what struck me about this definition is that it's specifically geared at the man of color. And that took me to a new level of discrimination that I think I wasn't aware of. You know, we hear people talking about black means dead in law. It does, but here we see it spelled out with the term colored man. So it's telling you right there that we are not there. The term colored man has no protections in the legal system. So when we see men getting shot that are presumed to be colored, this might help us to understand why cops go free. We have to, as I said in one of my videos, beg for justice. And that is meaning it's we're at the mercy of whatever the system decides to do. And we would have to make a big stink in order to get justice. So I want to just have a moment with this and let it sink in. You know, let it sink in what this is saying. What this is saying. Now I would, after seeing this, my feeling is I really want to get the next few editions. I guess up to the 4th edition is what I've seen people say that these are the first 4 editions of the Black's Law Dictionary are the ones that we need to be looking at, because the newer editions, of course, they've been shall we say, cleaned up, and they're not showing these kinds of definitions anymore. But here's the thing that I've come to realize, and maybe someone could speak to it, but what I've come to realize is just because you have a new edition and this word, this phrase is no longer in it, it's already cited. This page is a legal citation, basically, that validates the disenfranchisement of what we're looking at here is the colored man. And I thought, again, that it was so interesting that it was the male, it's the male that is singled out. And that, again, I'm still somewhat in a state of shock, because this, in no uncertain terms, it shows us that the system is targeting the indigenous male, okay? It doesn't say colored woman, colored person. Well, I guess that is what the woman would fall under. But you see, they made a distinction by singling out the colored man. Well, isn't he the one who, again, is target practice for the legal system, for the authorities? This definition, it has me in a state of bewilderment. It's there. We're looking at it. We're looking at basically the destruction, the legal destruction of a man that they have legally created called the colored man. As we indigenous know, we were copper colored. So right here in the first edition of the Black's Law Dictionary of, is it 18? Let's look at that cover one more time. I believe it was 1891. So about 10 years before this, we had Walter Plecker doing the paper genocide. And here in the first Black's Law Dictionary of 1891, we see that it's official. I want people to screenshot this if they need to. Here it is. I don't know if I've seen anyone show us this direct. We've spoken on it several times. Black means dead in law. You know, well, we had the black codes that made us dead in law, right? So here, colored is the one that but what I want to say is that we can, I think, pretty much safely say that although we have several different misnomers, since we're at the mercy of the legal system, they're at liberty to choose whichever of those misnomers. Now, we think we go with the current one, but the legal system, they just have a stack to choose from, if you know what I mean. These terms have not been ruled out, you know what I mean? So they're still there. They're still lying there. So they didn't go away. This definition, it's just hidden. You know, it didn't go away. It wasn't eradicated. So I guess what I would like to do is now see if I can obtain the 3rd and 4th edition of the Black's Law Dictionary, just to see how the term black is treated. You know, in these two, the term black is it's not saying what this one is saying. I think they couldn't use black as much because, as we know, our people were averse to being called black. We see that in the video clip from a Dane Calloway video about Stokely Carmichael, and we clearly hear Dr. Martin Luther King say that he knew that our people had an issue with the term black. So at one point, for all the FBA people, we didn't want it. So it's amazing that we got it, you know? Who's defining us? Creating these terms and then putting it in their legal dictionaries and proceeding to disenfranchise us. So I guess this came up in a case. 31 Texas reporter, I'm guessing, they given us a citation there. 31 Texas reporter, I'm assuming, page 74. So there's a case attached to this. And it would be interesting to see that case. But I just want this to sit there as I'm talking, and I want my viewers to please, this is what we mean when we tell you that you cannot use the terms, the misnomers that the United States corporate government have assigned to you, because they're well aware that once you pick up on these terms, you are now outside of the protections of the law. And I'll say it as much as I need to say it. Get civil rights out of your mind. We are talking constitutional rights. And we want to, if we want to specify, it would be the first continental constitution, not the municipal constitution, not the territorial constitution. I think I said it before, territorial means that it's under the British Crown. That's the version of the United States that the British Crown controls. which would include the District of Columbia, and every version of each state that we refer to as state of. When we say state, or when you hear state of Colorado, state of Nevada, state of California, state of Utah, all of those for each and every state, that is a franchise of the Crown Corporation, the District of Columbia Corporation, that they have placed in each state. So those versions of the state are doing the bidding of the Crown. What is the bidding of the Crown? The bidding of the Crown is to make everyone responsible for the debts of the Crown. So any debt that Britain has incurred, we are seen as the ones that have been pledged to pay that debt. So we have somehow, unbeknownst to us, we've been made their bank. But if we cannot pay that loan, we have been made, not that loan, I'm sorry, that debt, we have been made their subjects. And I guess we're in a state of bad faith, right? If we haven't paid the debt that they are looking for us to pay, that means they get to just own whatever we have. That's how it works. It is how it works. A lot of people think that their tax money is going back into their state. Well, that would most likely be the state of, like we just talked about, and not, for instance, New York State, which is the constitutional version of the state, not the commercial code version. So no, when you have over $1 trillion, I don't know how many trillions that they are alleging that we owe, but that means there's no money can go to you. You have to at least meet that threshold of whatever we owe, for the money to begin to circulate back to whatever we need. Because as far as our, what do they call themselves, I guess, creditors, as far as they're concerned, we're not in a position to own anything. It's theirs. This is not play. This is not something I'm making up. This is facts that we will never hear them openly admit, because we're supposed to be not only the dead slaves, but the deaf, dumb, and blind slaves that have no clue that they've been made slaves. Somewhere there's a monarch laughing. Somewhere there has to be, at least when they figure it out. If it's a young monarch, I mean, whenever they're let in on the big joke of America, it has to strike them. That's funny because, we're told that America is the land of the free, It is not that at this time. I mean, I believe it's getting there. I do have hope for our America, but at this time, it's an exploitative entity that chews you up and spits you out, in terms of, especially if you're a colored man, you are trailing behind in the income brackets, So you peak out at a certain place generally, And now it's about getting that immigrant labor, you know, because it's like a merry-go-round. You get your ride and you have to get off and make room, because we're not trying to bring you up to wages standard. You know, someone pointed out brilliantly that Americans have not seen a true raise in their wages since the 70s. I forgot where I heard it, but they did their homework for that. And we've gotten cost of living increases, which means you don't get an increase. It's just enough to keep you at just enough. So the way our system is set up, it feeds off of the poor, you know, from other countries. So it ends up punking everybody, because they will peak out at some point. And it's about, okay, you made your money, you had your ride, you can take it home now. And we're looking for new of the world's poor and needy to give them a ride. Meanwhile, the indigenous are sitting back in a state of having no technical signification, which the courts are bound to judicially know. No legal technical signification, which the courts are bound to. The courts are not bound to provide us justice. They don't have to. That's why we must beg for it. We have to march. We have to develop some kind of Black Lives Matter campaign. And then after that, we've exhausted our energy for things that were supposed to be free, liberties that we fought for already, you know? We're the only people that must, out of all other people, beg for justice in our own land. The crimes are so mind-boggling. I sometimes can't believe that I'm actually in this fictitious world. But I thank the ancestors, because I was never meant to even know this. So every day I have to remind myself that it's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. I was telling someone that when I really think about it, who woke us up? Who did it? And that's when indigenous and even the enemies of the indigenous, well, they know. But I think they are still quite awed to see that this had nothing to do with anything that they are promoting. I mean, I think our enemies try to give us clues, but it's never, it's never done in an overt way. You have to really be, again, I said in one of my videos, you got to get 007 with it. You have to become an inspector, a private eye, and you have to sift this out. And then I guess it eases their karma to feel like they put it in a movie. They love the movies. So we're getting truth in a fictitious framework. You have to become, again, some kind of psychology, psychological, psychoanalytical person to see what you're in. I did do a video. I didn't post it yet, and sorry that I'm always having to tell you about some video I didn't post. But I'm sitting with it. I don't tend to put my videos up right away. I have to look at them and sit with them. And this one has not left the sitting process yet. So yeah, in that, so I might cover stuff that I covered in that video, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's gonna get posted out. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So, but this is what brought me to the video today, what we're looking at right now. It's in black, well, not exactly black and white, but eggshell and black, or black and eggshell. I just want viewers to see before your eyes. This is a legal dictionary. This is what a lawyer would go to find out how to maneuver in a case, and to define terms. And when it comes to a colored person, or a colored man, I'm sorry, specifically a man, and how do brothers feel out there looking at this? I mean, we all know that we're singled out, but there it is. There it is in eggshell and black. There it is. Colored man. There is no legal technical signification in this phrase, which the courts are bound judicially to know. The key word is legal. There is no legal signification. I would just simplify it to significance. There is no legal significance in this phrase, which the courts, they can do whatever they want with us. And the fact that they know this and we don't, for the most part, because this is my first time actually seeing it. I heard about it. And sometimes when you hear about it, it's not the same as seeing it. And look at it. Look at what this corporation has reduced us to. And ask ourselves, why? Why the colored man? When you colonize a country, the colonizer doesn't want the men around. Why? Well, a man who is in the know will fight to keep what belongs to him, his birthright. that's what any man would do in any country. That is why many of our indigenous signed up to be in the armed forces. My nephew is someone who his heart is military bound. But he's not aware of, I have some work to do, not aware of something like this. I just saw it myself. Was it in the last 2 or 3 days? But again, it's our brothers, our family members who stand up to do the right thing, or what they think is the right thing. And look what they have to fall back on: nothing. Is this why the prisons are filled with colored men? Because if you sit with this definition, you'll know that it doesn't matter if they're guilty or innocent, because they have no protection. So they can be made guilty just because they're not protected by any constitution. And civil rights are like cotton candy. They melt away. Do you understand that civil rights are not the goal any longer? Do you understand that we should have always been asking for constitutional rights that are tied to our Bill of Rights, which states that we are sovereign? Or do we not know what happened here? I will try to, once again, explain the best of my knowledge what happened. You see, we didn't come here on slave ships. We had our land. We were farmers, many of us North Americans. So when the colonizer came and saw our produce, our cotton, our corn, our tobacco, our squash, it was his mission to benefit from our produce. America, they will never admit it, America is one of the richest continents on the face of the earth. We are one landmass that has been politically divided into Canada, North America, and South America. It's all America. So from top to bottom, we have, all of the food groups. And if we were left as one nation that we should be, we would need nothing from the rest of the world because we have it all here. And the rest of the world, the leaders know this. We have it in abundance. This is why the colored man has presented a problem to the colonizer, because what the colonizer is doing is against every law that one could imagine. It's against God, it's against nature. Yet it persists. How does it persist? Well, they've trained us to see ourselves as this thing they call Black, this thing they call African American, this thing they call colored man, this thing they call Negro. So once we embrace those terms, we make it so much easier. In fact, they begin to think that they didn't do nothing wrong. It's them. We're just going by what they co-sign on. People think it's a joke and they insist on being called Black. All you're doing is making it easier for your enemy to target you, to have no legal, technical signification, which the courts are bound to judicially know. So you're some kind of renegade entity that pretty much is an enemy of the state, because you have no identity that is recognized by the tenets of nationhood. Is there a place called Colored Landia that where you can call your embassy and have your leader come and tell a corporate government that no, he's not here to be a colored man or any other disenfranchised. He's from where he's from. You know, he has a landmass identity, not a crayon or a colorable identity, you know. So he has protections. We are American. But if they can get us to say we're African, Africans are not protected by the Constitution, y'all. And African Americans aren't either. I should pull up the Dred Scott decision, because that's where we learned that African Americans are not protected by neither is the colored man. So African Americans are not protected by the Constitution. The Constitution, again, that is the document that we use to contract with the foreign corporation. So if I could explain, that we did hire them. You know, I mean, I don't think it was the smartest thing to do, but somehow it was done. So we have a contract with them that they have dishonored by renaming and reclassifying all Americans into United States citizens, because you see, at one point, being a white man was top banana. It really was. And they were protected by the Constitution. They were. I tried to say in one of my videos that, and when we looked at the Constitution, what I might not have said was, it applied to the white man at that time, because in the last video we saw that the United States citizen wasn't created until 1868. So what were white people before 1868? Well, we Indians, we were tied up in indentured servitude, you know? So we were not, once they took us outside of our national identity as American Indians, that is when we lost any protection from anything, from the Constitution. See, we were never protected by the Constitution, which I find amazing, because I know some of our Indians were there when that document was being made. So I've come to the conclusion that the Iroquois Confederacy, upon which the Constitution is roughly based on their law of peace, they had to have known. They had to have known. That's how I haven't really looked deep into it, but that document, the Constitution, it was, again, basically built upon the Iroquois law of peace, the Iroquois Confederacy law of peace. Now, they were at odds with the Algonquins. So would they have not made it look like they were drafting a document to protect all Indians? But in reality, did they not assist in us then being not really party to the Constitution? Because American Indians, and for the final answer on what do we need to call ourselves if we want to, be covered by the Constitution, we refer to as American Indians. There's no question. We weren't called Aboriginal, and a lot of YouTubers have pointed that out. But then I saw it from when we looked at the last video I did. American Indians are not taxed. American Indians not taxed. We're not supposed to be taxed. So I think we the people, it couldn't have included American Indians. You know what I mean? Because that's how the Constitution looked at us, as American Indians. So we the people would have had to say we the American Indians, because we the people are not American Indians. So that's what I meant when I said that, are we party to the Constitution? Not really. But I think what happened is it could be that the Constitution I would have to think that the Constitution is inferior to the rights that we would have as American Indians. Like for the foreigner, they would have to declare their independence. but we were never really subjects of Great Britain. You know what I mean? So we didn't really need to declare independence from them, I would presume. So the Iroquois had a great law of peace, which you should look at, because I might pull that up quickly because I want to see that I want us to see that the Iroquois Confederacy, they used titles of nobility in their law of peace, which I found interesting, because the Constitution says something about no titles of nobility. But it could be that we were the lords, and then somehow that got transferred to the foreigner, and they became lords. But yeah, we should pull up that law of peace. I hope to do that. I didn't have it lined up, but I think we should look at it. I think that it was the Iroquois Confederacy that took the leadership role in interfacing with the colonizer. Now, keep in mind that the Iroquois Confederacy was always at odds with the Algonquin Confederacy. So did they have an intention to disenfranchise mostly the Algonquins? So they draft up a constitution, but it refers to people like American Indians, but then immediately we're no longer American Indians. So American Indians are chosen by the corporation chooses who's going to be the American Indian that they can get. And the thing is, those ones that they choose are not sovereign. A federally recognized tribe is not sovereign. First of all, they're dependent on benefits and privileges from the federal government. So that's what the federal government wants. They want to say, oh, you can be an Indian and we'll help you. But the thing is, you don't want their help because all their help has strings attached, and all their help is conditional. That's why you can't be sovereign and be a federally recognized tribe, because you're dependent, and your dependency creates some sort of adhesion contract that says you have to do what we say. I had an idea of something to show. I would have to look it up though. It's in a book, but it kind of speaks to, if I could find it, it speaks to benefits and privileges. And maybe I should read from okay, so we want to put it out to our ancestors. Now that we're pretty much almost fully woke, we got to understand that the corporation coerced us into, and let me say for the record, we are peaceful Americans. We are not looking to for violence or any of that sort. We're just learning, particularly us as indigenous, we're learning our heritage and our legacy that we are owed on our land. So this has nothing to do with violence. This has to do with us educating ourselves and doing what we need to do in a lawful manner, because the law is on our side in terms of our status as American Indians. So we want to be clear that when we were pulled into United States citizenship, coerced or under duress of some sort, we want to read about that. And we're going to, I'm going to read from Anna Reitzinger's book, You Know Something Is Wrong When. So let me leave this screen for now. Okay, just for now. This is page 51 again of You Know Something Is Wrong When. Okay. Pulling people from the land and air jurisdictions into the jurisdiction of the sea is known as press ganging. And it has been outlawed for 200 years. When the sea jurisdiction laps onto the land, it is called inland privacy. I'm sorry, inland piracy. It's piracy, inland piracy. That's outlawed too. When people of the land jurisdiction are forced to donate the fruits of their labor against their will, that's what we were basically doing when we were indentured servants. Now, we did contract, but what happened was those contracts would be voided for like technicalities. For instance, somehow you would be said that, oh, you didn't do your quota, so you got to give me another 7 years. Like, I believe the contracts were for 7 years, but they slowly turned that into slavery, you know? So let's see. When people of the land jurisdiction are forced to donate the fruits of their labor against their will, it is known as peonage. P-E-O-N-A-G-E, peonage. When people are forced to donate the fruits of their labor against their will, it is known as peonage or enslavement. Also outlawed. Page 51 of You Know Something Is Wrong When. I read this before, but let's just read it again. American state citizens are owed all the protections of the Geneva Convention Protocols of 1949. Article 3 of those conventions makes it a capital crime, death penalty, to change the citizenship status of an American state citizen to that of a United States citizen. So how many of you know yourselves to be United States citizens? Are you registered to vote? Because that's a contract that creates you as a United States citizen. Driver's license, we know the birth certificate, Social Security, the way, depending on how you filled out your passport, you know, what do you call it? The passport application. If you put United States citizen, then you are one of these people that your citizenship status is changed from that of an American state citizen or American state national to that of a United States citizen. So they know that because we have not been taught civics in the government public schools, that we think nothing of the term American citizen versus United States citizen, and we would assume it's the same thing. So our puppet masters know that we have no clue that they're two different things completely. They couldn't be more different. An American state citizen or American state national is protected by the Constitution, where a United States citizen, which was created in 1868. So that's telling you right there that when the Constitution was made, there was no such thing as a United States. So then what worry? Well, we the Indians, we were known as American Indians, so we weren't really part of it. But we helped to establish what American state national for our immigrants, because that's how America does people. We in America, our legacy, our birthright, and part of our legacy was to spread freedom to all mankind. I'm having a moment where I want to thank the ancestors. Pardon me. Because the world would be a much darker place if it were not for our beloved America. The older I get, the more I grow to honor and hold sacred that which our ancestors have built. Indigenous, we have so much to be proud of. Even as we are made the lowest on our land, she still remains the one place where freedom rings for, again, all mankind. That was our role as like a safe haven. And there really was no reason to make us virtual dead entities on our own land. But you see, our enemy, we don't even know that they are. It's just lately, as indigenous, we really have grown to see what the enemy requires. And it requires that the men of the country be a constant target. I think about food lately, and it's tough enough, you know, being a male in these United States. But when you add that they are messing with the food as a means to physically and genetically emasculate males, particularly indigenous males, that we're the target. We are the target because this is our land. So the colonizer is constantly thinking of ways to get rid of us. So it's like a biological warfare, but it's unlike Rona in terms of it's as simple as eating soy. And now, I don't know which YouTuber did it, but they've said that it's even in the marijuana. There's an agent that feminizes men. It's an attack that reaches into the depths of hell and calls up the idea of a literal demon entity. Who would do such a thing? You know, like, and really think that there's no debt to doing such a thing. And these are two unknowing indigenous men who, a lot of good men who are just trying to do the right thing. But because of the way food is being, the soy, and you can see that it's in everything unnecessarily. So why, it's like a can of sardines, it's soy, or, why? It's not a preservative, is it? Sodium is a preservative. And regular oil will do just fine. But the attack is to put ingredients in food that don't have to be there. But I've really tried to remember and be secure in the fact that spirit is bigger than these shenanigans. We indigenous men, we have the most high in us. That spirit is what holds the body up, So it has to be a stronger entity than anything physical. And you can fuck with the DNA and the genetics of a man, but you will not kill the power source. You won't do it. And when he becomes aware of it, the jig is really up. Because just the awareness, I believe, sets things in motion in the right way. So we move away from soy products, we move away. I don't know how brothers are going to do with the weed, but we just have to be aware of what is being done. I use the imagery of Pinky and the Brain because it's unbelievable that there is something. Where is it coming from? Where's it coming from? Because decisions are made at some place at the top of that pyramid. So it would have to be going to the top of the pyramid, because that's the structure that they use our own structures against us, in that those at the tops of all these corporate pyramids are all working in unison in terms of, say, the top of one of the milk companies, the soy milk company, is good friends with the guy who does soy oil or something. So they just have a plan to saturate the food industry with everything soy, an all-out attack. And how we know that they're losing? Well, we know what the numbers look like, right? We know who's increasing on the face of the earth, right? And who's not. And again, this is not a racist channel. We're all being manipulated by a priesthood class that mix in with any royalty out there. And so these are not white people at the very top. And I will always, always, always say that. I don't advocate violence against these brothers. But I don't even know what to say to these brothers. I don't know what to say to these brothers. I don't know exactly what keeps them driving this direction. Like, give it up. Like, like I literally think that all through time there is, or so far, I think what happens is there's an awakening period. These basically secret societies ride it out and attempt to build it again. But this time, I don't think it's going to happen exactly how they would like, because I don't know, or I've never heard a time when there were so many people of color that know their identity, and knowing that they're the American Indian. But I guess I have to presume that it has happened before, if I could say it that way. Is this the first time that there was a mass awakening of Americans? Is it? I mean, it feels like I've never seen it before. I've only known us to be, known as all those misnomers. I never knew that we were the Indians. I never heard that. So I'm inclined to think it's the first time it ever happened. But I know the world tends to be cyclical. So I'm going to finish reading this. Really got off on a tangent, but I started. American state citizens are owed all the protections of the Geneva Convention Protocols of 1949. Article 3 of those conventions makes it a capital crime, punishable by death, to change the citizenship status of an American state citizen to that of a United States citizen. But the perpetrators of this vast fraud scheme have nonetheless contrived to do this via redefinition. Word spell. Redefinition of living people and their property assets as estates. I think I said it, but Taharka, Taharka Bey has a video, I think in the last couple of months, where he wrote his tax assessor and challenged the classification of his property as an estate, and basically argued that I'm not an estate, so why am I being taxed as an estate? This is private property. You see, when you colonize, your colonizer doesn't think that you have private property anymore because they did everything they could to make it their property. You know, the national debt, the creation of the United States citizen, which is a debt slave. So imagine how shocked some are when somebody like Taharka Bey stands up and says, this is not an estate, this is my private property. And I'm not a United States citizen. I am an American state national. Can you correct that error that I was not previously aware of? This is what he says we can do. And you know what, brother? I mean, Taharka, he's great. He thinks we're all African though, and I realize I gotta take the bitter with the sweet sometimes. This Africa thing is heavy and deep. I finally come to realize that it's an entire lie, and I find such pleasure in knowing that as easily as I was indoctrinated with it, it's turning out that it makes it, ironically, easy to give it up because it is an indoctrination. What people, I think, have to realize is that indoctrination starts at a young age, and colonizers know that they have to get the children. You know, they have to get the children because then it becomes all you know, that you're from Africa. You know, they get you in the public schools and the grade schools, and the teachers telling everyone that you came on a bottom of a slave ship. And they didn't even build ships like that at that time for that much cargo, let alone to feed a cargo like that were out on the ocean for, I think it was 3 months or something like that, to get from Africa to America. And they didn't build those big giant like Titanic type of ships back then at all, nowhere near it. So how do you feed and water and provide drink for all these people that are stuffed, laying down for 3 months, basically chained in the bottom of it? You know, it, like someone said, they'd all be sick and dead by the time, sick or dead by the time they made it to America, in no kind of shape to be slaves, no kind of physical shape to be slaves. But you think they had gyms on those boats, gymnasiums? All those Negroes, all those Africans. But they tell it, we believe it. They put it in the Bible, and boom, a whole lie is created. So I said, redefinition, sorry, went off on a tangent. So we've been taken out of, well, we, as the Indians, we weren't. But let's see. To change the citizenship status of an American state citizen or American state national to that of a United States citizen, it's a capital crime, punishable by death. But the perpetrators of this vast fraud scheme have nonetheless contrived to do this via redefinition. It's all about changing words. That really is the basis of the crime. Okay. Redefinition of living people and their property assets as estates. That is, corporate entities which fall within the international jurisdiction of the sea and which can be attacked at will. A corporation can be attacked at will because you're a creation basically of the corporate United States. And the reason, like a lot of our indigenous, they really do try to advocate for just be a corporation. And I hope they understand that when you do that, you are off the land. Because as we read, corporate entities fall within the international jurisdiction. So you're no longer on an American footing. You're in an international framework just by being a corporation. Just by being a corporation. I don't like when I'm crooked. I like to be in the middle. I want, if you could please hear that, when you incorporate and your corporation is not a product of the land jurisdiction. It is completely, wholly, and solely in an international ocean, which can be attacked at will. So you're not sovereign. Because the entity that created you and pulled you off the land got you on their playing field. A United States citizen happens to be just that, an entity that is in the international sea jurisdiction. I said it before, and I just want to say it again. If we were under our Constitution, as we're supposed to be, I am now because I'm a state national. But if we were in our proper status, we would not need UNDRIP or ADRIP. And I just want to say that again because it came upon me, and I realized that's how knowledge works. It sort of builds upon itself, and then you have equations that that come to you. Like I realized UNDRIP and ADRIP are in the international jurisdiction. That's where they want us to be. Because at the bottom line of an international or Congress-made entity, the bottom line of that is benefits, privileges. So whatever UNDRIP is giving us, whatever ADRIP is giving us, it is not unalienable. It is a benefit or a privilege that Congress can take away. So they give you something that sounds good, like civil rights, and we get happy. Oh, yay. What they don't tell us is that it's like giving somebody something and then maybe sometime after you say, okay, I hope you've enjoyed those privileges and benefits because now I'm about to end them. But well, it works well. You see, how do I say this? You're not entitled to those. We gave you them. And right now, we're sort of redesigning what we're trying to do up in here. And we don't need you to vote anymore in Georgia. That's one of the most common instances of rights being threatened to be taken away. Unalienable constitutional rights cannot be taken away. You cannot take them away. But we have to claim them. what the corporation does is make us put us in contracts that are basically saying that I waive my constitutional rights. We don't know we're doing this, but the corporation does. And so they are coercing us very subtly, and knowing that we don't have a clue, most of us, to not be protected by our own constitution. It's just this piece of paper sitting there like, hello, anybody see me? I can't believe this is happening, y'all. I sit here before you in this video and I speak to you, and at the same time, my mind is like, is this really happening? It is. It really is. That's part of the reason why I started making videos, because I'm like, I don't see this thing. Is it slowly moving? I hate when things move. It's like I'm like, this is really, really happening. I gotta say something, you know? Because I talk a lot about the priesthood, I just want to read this. I know I did it already, and forgive me, but I know sometimes I sound crazy when I say that it's Black men doing all this. I know people are like, he's crazy. Black men can't do this thing either. But see, only in America are men of color really getting it good. You know, we have the largest prison system in all the world. Even a place, you know, like one of the Muslim countries that you would think, you know, you could get thrown in jail for stuff, you know, religious, whatever. You know, that's how they want to do it. Fine. That you want to do it, that's fine. I would hate to be in that situation. Okay. I know what I'm in is bad, but I just when oppression is blatantly based on religion, well, it's time to head for the hills, y'all. It's time to head for the hills. But in America, it's a little more hidden than that, because you know once they invented the United States citizen, they really don't have to come at us, you know, with religion as blatantly. But religion is tied up in it. But this book, I'm revisiting this book because it's been a while. And I remember, you know, this is in my mind, I just take for granted that it's a Black priesthood that's behind all of this. This bell thing is really getting on my nerves. How about we turn it off? Okay. Because you know, I had my Crystal Redemptor playing earlier, and I was gonna play it again, but I don't want to make it too sappy or whatever. Okay, so I want, especially indigenous, why do you come after Islam in terms of you always talking about what they're doing, or the Moors, and you know what? I'll just say it again. Hi Moors, how you doing? How you doing? Peace. Peace. I come in peace. But I still got to tell you about yourself, because I know that some of our Moors, they mean well. I have to give it to them. I mean, like I mean well. I might not get everything right, you know, but I do mean well, right? I can say that honestly. Honestly, I know, you know, everything is not, you know, like I said before, it's not like it's gospel, you know, like I'm trying to use my common sense in a lot of it. And I think there's a benefit to using common sense, because you know we're not taught to think. So I would like to think that this is something new that I'm doing, like using my brain in a way where I'm able to deduce things. That's how we're supposed to do it. You know, that's how it's supposed to work. There was a time when I was thank God that time is over. But early on in my YouTube life, I became a little bit inhibited to speak my mind because I found I was always getting attacked. And now I look back on it, I can't believe that was me, because that's so not me anymore. But I would say something, and I didn't realize how YouTube worked, but it seemed like there were people that at least in the beginning, they would pounce on you if they didn't agree with you, pounce on you, and really, really do it in a very humiliating way, and I was so green to YouTube. I really was just trying to express my thoughts, or, honestly, so when I got attacked, it was like, why are they so mad? I'm just said, this is what I thought, Um, so to be at this phase now, or this stage, where I'm literally doing videos and just speaking my mind, and just letting it all out. But sometimes I look back and I wish I didn't say that, because there's some things that I might say, that it's not, I haven't really validated it yet, so I realize that's what's happening. But I really am shooting from the gut a lot. And I know that, for instance, what I have a little bit of a gift of, and I've only just recently discovered this, in a family situation. But I have a sibling that was, uh, they were at odds with their spouse. And I was sort of able to, I want to say, tune into one of the spouses in a way that I was told that I was on point, and I'm not trying to brag. I was shocked because it helped to empower me to speak my mind, and it turned out that in a situation like that, I was on point. And what happened was, the things I was saying, without even talking to the spouse, they were indicating to the other spouse, if you know what I mean. And I was, in other words, one spouse would say to me, "That's exactly what uh, they said," like, and I couldn't believe it at the time. But then I realized it's because this is a time for indigenous. Um, I think they knew it was going. I think they knew this was going to happen. Like the Bible talks about a time when young men will prophesy. Now, see, when I quote the Bible, please don't think that I am a Christian. I am far from it. And I say that respectfully. I know how hard it is to break out of that spell. So I don't want to offend people, but at the same time, I get so upset by the misleading. It's real. And people wonder, well, why does that bother you so much? Why do you care what the Bible says? If people like following Jesus, what's your problem? And I know that I have to let people be. I know it. I know it. Um, all I can say is, I personally have never been a fan of being lied to. It it hits me in a way where I get, as far as I've seen, extremely indignant, you know? So I'm thinking that people are like me. Not all people, I know we're all different, but I think my job is to be mindful that there are people like me. I know there are, you know, that's what one thing, it was just always a given in my head. I just always felt that, and I think I said this before, I know there's people out there that are very similar to me. Everyone has somebody out there that relates, you know, or you say something and it affects them because they're very similar to you, to you, or to, you know, or to us or whatever. And so it incensed me so much that there's a part of my soul that says I have to go tell those other me's, the other ones, like I have to let them know, you know, because I know they're not gonna like it. You know, I know they're gonna feel like I do. You know, even right now, I'm literally, I get on the verge of tears because it bothers me that much that I feel like I have to, I have to say something. You know, I said this before, I have a Venus in Leo. You can't shut me up. It's not possible. When I shut up, it's going to be because I want to, you know, and I have a, you know, yes, there is reality in these astrology. So but it helped me to understand myself, and it helped me to see my strengths, or why I get certain, you know, so adamant, you know, and even authoritative when sometimes I might not always feel it, you know, but it's in there, you know, and I'm 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 very, I've grown to love my makeup. You know, I've grown to love what I'm made of. You know, it's not perfect, you know, but I realize I really, it I guess I'm saying astrology helped me to understand myself a little bit, you know, because I need to know, what is this thing? It's, you know, it, you know, this voice, you know, this mind, you know, that I, you know, get on my little box or my soapbox, and it's it's all, you know, in there, and I know that it's out there. You know, I know it helps people. I know it. I know it, and I'm okay with it. You know, I really am. So again, I want to read this because I want people to understand that we are living not in a white construct. We are living in what these brothers call, or would call, a black construct. This was built by a black group of men. And that is why it is, when we come up against it, it feels almost like it's unsurmountable. You know what I mean? It's because we think it's a white male that we're up against. That's why it's so baffling to us, because we have not realized what is behind the so-called white man. This is the only thing on earth that I've found, because I've been looking. This is the only thing. This kind of doctrine is the only thing that told me. It filled in the blanks. but I was supposed to buy all of the Kool-Aid. And like I told you, the what do you call it? The mercury in Leo. You know, that entity, it won't buy all of the Kool-Aid because it has very strong inclinations to be self-minded in terms of, thank you, I will decide how this information will be digested. Because those who put this together, they wanted to tell you what they did, but they want you to accept their reasoning for why they did it. Again, I'm a peaceful American. This is just all about knowledge and the awakening of the gods and the goddesses. They knew this was coming, yo. That's what I want to say. And I think they have plans to attempt to resurrect this, everything that we've been through. I'm not convinced yet that they are done with the shenanigans. But there's so much that we could learn from this time that we really never have to go through it again. So what happens to the ones who this is all they want to do? Well, let's just get an idea of this, okay? I could sit here and talk all night, but this is what let me know that the forces that we are up against are our very own brothers. Hi, brothers. How y'all doing? Don't worry, ain't nobody trying to, cause you harm or nothing like that. The truth will set us free. Is that what you said in your Bible? Okay, I've read this before, but here, let's start with that. Read that title and tell me that you can understand why. I know that it's not white men that we are dealing with. Oh, they might be, the receptionist at the door, the one you see everywhere, but they're not in the CEO's office, in the CEO seat. How the black man rules. Y'all got to understand this as it's being read and take it to heart. We, the original nation of earth, says Allah, the maker of everything, sun, moon, and stars, and the race called the white race, are the writers of the Bible and the Quran. So already the ride is bumpy. So we are the writers of the Bible and the Quran. Now it sounds like he's just talking about all quote unquote black people, right? Wrong. You would say, well, what he mean is some of us wrote the Bible and some of us wrote the Quran. And it just so happened, it was black men that did. There was nothing behind it. Well, when you read the second paragraph, we make such history once every 25,000 years. So now the we is not all of us. We make history every 25,000 years. So when I allude to you that everything has been planned, whether it was towers falling down or an escape virus or a jab, we make such history every 25,000 years. Wouldn't they be dead within that time? No. Well, their doctrine wouldn't be. So they may as well be alive, right? Because somebody is going to uphold these such histories for at least 25,000 years. This is what I meant when I said, right now we're in an awakening period. But we got another 25,000 years to go to see what happened, right? What's going to happen 25,000 years from now? Well, according to this, they're going to do it again. So these people are in place. How are they doing it? How are they controlling history? Because they didn't say they were telling history. They said they were making such history. And every 25,000 years, when such history is written, it is done by 24 of our scientists. So there's a group of Black brothers. I mean, there might be one or two whites, but he just said, he specified how the who Black man rule, and they made it one word, how the Black man rules. Well, we know what they mean, right? Got to hear this. Everything I say when I tell you that it's not white people, when I read this and let it resound in my woken mind, my awakened mind, it told me everything I needed to know about who is really running the show. So here's where I have to say again, ain't nobody coming after these brothers with guns and knives and all of that. No, just knowing you, it's enough. It's enough. Knowing what you do is enough. And not forgetting it is crucial. So already, my mind's eye is aware of you. And that knowledge is what's going to keep me from falling into your clutches. Let it be so, ancestors. As I have said, I believe we have to keep knowledge like this coming and going, meaning even after we have passed on, somewhere we have to make a decision that we won't forget what we learned. And this is the biggest lesson I've ever got. I would like to be in awe of these men because they are, quote unquote, Black. But unfortunately, the position that they've put us in, it doesn't make that very possible, because I truly, in my deepest heart of hearts, do not believe that these men are acting in any favorable way toward the American Indian. We don't have, we're the only people on earth that don't have a set nationality. And we've been called by several misnomers. And we just read that these guys make history every 25,000 years. So you wrote it into your books that we would be denationalized, and you facilitated that happening. You say you're the custodians. But we have to realize that some custodians are looking at your inheritance and they have no intention of you ever getting it. So are you a wicked custodian, or are you an honorable custodian? What's in it for you, custodian? What's in it for them is the taking of our identity and our legacy. So we make such history, they make such history, these Black men, how the Black man rules. That's the name of the chapter. So am I out of order to tell you that it is a Black race or a Black so-called group of men who are running everything? Can you even fathom that? Well, if you really are in touch with who you are on this earth, you can, right? We were the first, right? It's not such a stretch to know that we had a head start over white men, right? Over all men. When such history is written, it is done by 24 of our scientists. One acts as judge or guide for the others, and 23 actually do the work of getting up the future. The future? So it's by design. One acts like God, and 23 do the work of getting up the future of the nation. And all is put into one book. And at intervals with such and such part or portion will come to pass, because they're going to make it happen. That's not prophecy, y'all. They said they wrote the Bible and the Quran. So it's not prophecy, y'all. It's a plan by men acting. One acts as judge or God. A Black man is acting, taking the role of God. And how come the brothers in America are target practice and jail fodder? and being attacked with soy products in all or most of the food. You're trying to turn us into women? That's how you brothers do us? What kind of man must you be to need to do that to American Indians? There's some countries that won't allow for their food to be touched. And these brothers, I know it's kind of bright, right? You can't see this book. They're fucking with my computer again. Brothers don't want you to look what they did. Look what they did. I'm sorry. I'm messing with y'all. I know it has to focus. I know. You could pause if you want to read it yourself, so you know I ain't lying. Oh, how's our nails today? You're not so bad. There you go. So we come in peace, right, brothers, sisters? We just want to know what's going on. Because y'all know the gods are on our side. I hope y'all know that this awakening is all about the answer. As I said before, who's waking us up? It's showing us, right? So it's something within us that all of a sudden just waking up. They say that we don't even wake ourselves up from sleep. Some people believe that. It's usually Christian. But there's something to be said about that, I guess. What wakes us up? Okay, so all is put into one book through one book, and at intervals where such and such part or portion will come to pass, that people will be given that part of the book, that people. So what they're telling us, that some people get this, some people get this, excuse me, and some people get that. So my brothers, you said you wanted monotheism, right? This is the Islam, right? So it's monotheism. If you want monotheism, then why did you create the Bible and the Quran? And you making history every 25,000 years. So you wrote a Bible and a Quran. And then when this time or this part of the book is to come to pass, the 23 actually do the work of getting up the future of the nation. So you guys are actively, quote unquote, making history and then making it happen. Did y'all think it was God doing that? Or you thought everything is by chance? And it's just God. Well, it's a man who acts as God. That's what they just told us. When somebody tells you what they do, believe them, right? Why would somebody say this? There must be some truth to it. It is one of the major religions. So it sounds to me that the priest of Islam, of all the other monotheistic religions, these guys, they are running the show. And they act like basically they are some kind of a priesthood, but I do think that they recruit, and that would become your societies, you know, your secrets, your Greek society. And so it's a network where most of the men are not aware of what their society is about, because they're the lower end, the ignorant ones who just want some fellowship, just want to be with the God. And what make good men better? That's and have barbecues and fundraising. Some of the brothers think that that's all they do. But we just found out that every 25,000 years. So how do they keep something going that long? It's passed down to their generations, right? That's a long time, 25,000 years. So that means some man with 23 other brothers decided that they are going to run the entire show. And I guess you won't find out about them unless you join the Nation of Islam, I guess. But why do I have to join a religion if this is something that we should all be made aware of? Because he's talking about basically Black people, right? This says the original nation of the earth. But I can only know this if I join your religion. So that means you create an enemy. And although you wanted one God and you insisted upon one God, you still don't quite want to unite people under one God. Because there's Jesus, Allah, and the baby daddy, Yahweh. So let me try to figure this out. You're monotheistic, but you give that people will be given that part of the book through one among that people from one of the 12 major sciences, as it is called then, or then called a scripture, which actually means script of writing from something original or book. So all put into one book, and at intervals where such and such part or portion will come to pass, that people will be given that part of the book through one among that people from one of the 12 major sciences. So it sounds like it's Black men, but they have like a network of men because they're going to send one of your people to that people. Because it seems like they're recognizing that they have to get this out to Now, at this point, I don't even think they're talking about members of the Nation of Islam now. It sounds like they do this to everybody. And then they proceed to tell us about the measurements of the earth. And they're talking about the rotation, the change made in our planet's rotation. So they're saying the earth is rotating. These men would know what kind of earth we're on. They would know. They're scientists. So if they're telling us that the planet is rotating, y'all know what I'm going to say, right? Somebody lying, y'all. Somebody lying, y'all. Now they're telling us the truth that they want to tell. But if these Black men are the original nation of Earth, they should know what kind of Earth we're on. That, I don't know if I need to read any further, but it gives you a little idea. Okay, so here's talking about the white man, because now I'm saying this because I want you to know that I didn't make this up, y'all. So don't try to say, oh, you don't know, he's crazy. I read, I comprehend. That's what I do. I don't make up. Now I might suppose or make some deductions, but when it comes to who's running the show and where they're saying the white man came from and why I have a video called Vindication of the White Race, let's read. The Black God produced himself. He's self-created. Then the Black God made the white man. He didn't create him. He made him from himself. If he had made him or given him the power to create himself, he could never rule him. He's doing a hard job at it now. So the Black God well, let's read again or read. It's not saying it like I wanted to say it, but let me see. I gotta get to the part where ooh, I'm recording. I just thought I'd let you know. Okay. Okay. I want to get to where they really, okay. Okay, I want to get to where they really, okay, okay. Oh, wait a minute, there's a lot of phrases. Let me see. Let me see, I'm going to, I want to get to where they specifically, okay, where specifically, um, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And God said, let unto them be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. The above was all necessary if the devils were to rule as a god of the world. They must conquer and bring into subjection all the life upon the earth. Not land life alone, but they must subdue the sea and the like therein. Master everything until a greater master of God comes, which would mean the end of their power over the life of our earth. Okay. Okay. So let me see. I have to read something else to go with that. Okay. Let's try this. Okay. There are not any gods who live forever. I read this before, but I just want to remind you where this is coming from. There are not any gods who live forever. Their wisdom and work may live 6,000 and 25,000 years, but the actual individual may have died within 100 or 200 years, or the longest that we have record of, around 1,000 years. There is no God living who was here in the creation of the universe, but they produce gods from them, and their wisdom lives in us. The knowledge of God has been kept a secret by 12 men. Now we read about, 24 men, but the knowledge of God has been kept a secret by 12 men on our planet for many thousands of years. So it has to be the children of the 12 men. The 12 passed their knowledge on from son to son, but the number possessing this knowledge is never more than 12, and they are not ever to reveal it. Let's see. Okay. That is still not saying what I was looking for. Okay. Well, I can nutshell it. I can nutshell it. Okay. Okay. This man, Yakub, discovered in the germ of the black man that he had two people in him, and had learned through study and experimenting on the germ that this second germ could produce a powerful people that would be able to rule that which they came from. They would be able to rule for around 6,000 years, or until the father of the Aboriginal people produced one superior to his man. I don't recall the Aboriginal part. Indigenous, did you just hear that? Islam is telling us that we're going to produce a man that is superior to the one that Yaqub created. So that's what I want to get at. They are not saying that God created white men, okay? They're saying this man, Yaqub, he was a man. He was a black man. This man, Yaqub, discovered the germ of the black man, that he had two people in him. Okay? So that's the beginning of the white man. A man did something with the DNA and was able to genetically alter into being what they call the white man. They would be able to rule for around 6,000 years, or until the father, or the Aboriginal people produce one superior to his man. It sounds like he's saying the Aboriginal people are referring to us as the father. Unless I'm reading this incorrectly. They would be able to rule for around 6,000 years, or until the father or the Aboriginal people produce one superior to. So I guess that does signify an end of some sort. But what I think is going to happen is, let me finish reading this, okay? They would be able to rule in other words, white people would be able to rule for around 6,000 years, or until the father or the Aboriginal people produce one superior to his man. He had taken through experimental work on the germ of man, a people that what we call today a white race. But before he produced that white race, he produced a brown race, then he produced a yellow race, and so on. From what I can tell, history is validating that. The first version of a Caucasian was an Arab. Then Asian people came after the Arabs. He produced a brown race, then a yellow race, and so on. There lies his first grafting of the black man according to the teachings of Fard Muhammad, who we see and know today as being God in person. It's just hard for me to understand how they saw Fard Muhammad as God in person. But okay, because Fard was not a man of, this is all about the black man, right? How the black man rules. Fard Muhammad, by all appearances, was not a quote unquote black man. So this is when I find cracks in this doctrine. You're telling me that the white man is the devil. And then you look at Fard Muhammad, and the first thing my mind says is, oh, he part devil, according to what you say. But then you say he's God in person. Wouldn't your God be offended by that? Don't answer it. It's just rhetorical. I know you got to answer for everything. I know you do. I'm just trying to let y'all see that when you're not indoctrinated, this is how this stuff coming off. So this book helped me to know who's taking responsibility for this man that we call white, and we think the white man is somehow a product of God, you know, that put here to whip us into shape because we went against God. And then we're reading that somewhere in Islam, the white man was created, because this according to their story, this took place in Arabia. That's why the original Adam that they speak of was a dark-skinned man with Caucasian hair. And then over the years, he turned Asian and then Caucasian. So this is where this is coming from. They put it out there. All I did was share it. But it helped me to realize that I don't see the white man as responsible for the things that we would say he's responsible for. If there's a black mastermind behind it, or him, I'm sorry, behind, when I say it, I just mean this whole thing, then this person who they refer to as Yakub, and apparently they knew Yakub personally in their story because they were in Arabia where they practiced Islam. They pissed off Yakub somehow, is what I'm gathering. And it does say that. And then Yakub said that he's going to create. Why did you let him do that? That's the part that I'm wondering about. They talk like they knew what he was up to. And they knew when he was going to do the experiment, and they didn't stop him. They just told him to go somewhere else. And apparently that other place was the island of Crete or Patmos. Okay. So there's a lot in here that, like, it sounds like y'all was complicit, you know, and I will never let that go. Well, one thing I could say, the little clues for me is that you're talking about a heliocentric model of Earth. This is taking place in Arabia, where we know we have the Enki and Enlil story, and they are also talking about a heliocentric model of Earth. And I want to show you, since we're talking about it, let me just show you what the Egyptians, and when I say Egyptians, I'm talking about Americans. We called ourselves Tameri. We called our land Tameri. But the Greeks called us Egyptian. So what I'm saying is at the time when the Greeks were being reared up, we were not called Indians back then. We were called Egyptians because Egypt was first founded in the Americas, and it is a culture of America, of indigenous people, that was transferred to Africa, where they built a second one. The one in America, though, the same brothers that we just read about, they don't talk about the one in America. And I'm telling you, the fact that they don't speaks loudly. First of all, they wouldn't be talking about Allah if they knew the ancient tradition, and they did know the ancient tradition. They're the ones who brought the Caucasian into being, but then they went a step further and indoctrinated the Caucasian with a monotheistic religion, because this is when Alexander is made into the first Christ we know, which was a rapist by the Greeks, and then later that Serapis was turned into Jesus by the Romans. And someone indicated, I think, who was it? Was it Brother Walter Williams? That I used to wonder, why did they have a name like Jesus? But Walter Williams was the first to let me indicate that it's a combination of Jupiter and Zeus. So, you know, and I said this in one of my videos, so it would be Zeus, Jupiter Zeus, or Jesus. And it makes sense because the Romans are the ones who actually named the creature Jesus. Before that, he was called Serapis because he was a combination of two Egyptian gods, Osar and the Apis bull. So Jesus is a combo god made up of two sets of gods. The first one was Egyptian, and that was Osiris, Osar. The Greeks called Osiris Osar, and the Apis bull. And so he was called Serapis. And he had the qualities of the beginning qualities of what is called the Christ. Then when the Romans took over Greece, then they turned him into Jesus, Jupiter and Zeus. That is what makes the most sense to me when I try to break down why is he called Jesus. Like, was he Spanish? No, he was Roman, you know, a Roman name. It's a Roman name, so it has to be a combination of Roman words, Jupiter and Zeus. Okay, so what I want to do, since we brought up the shape of the earth, is I want to, come on now, share my screen for a minute and hope to do this right, because sometimes this is so, do I have it here? I thought I had it up. Let me see. Man, did I close it? I think I might have closed it. No, I know where to find it. Okay, so that's from earlier, the colored man. Okay, so let me look for this PC. We want to look for Nut and Geb. I want to show you what our ancient Tamarians, or otherwise known as Egyptians, how they saw the cosmos. Geb and Nut. This brother, this indigenous, represents the earth. His name is Geb. This is Nut. They, each of the deities had a male and a female counterpart. So this is our universe. So let me see if I had a few slides. Here's another version of Nut. This is Nut, and Geb. This is Earth. So in our most ancient traditions, the Earth was male. Okay, that's the eye of, let me see, Ra. The right, no, wait a minute. That's the eye of Horus. I'm sorry, because that looks like it's the left eye. If I turn around, no, wait a minute. No, that's Ra, the eye of Ra, because this is the right facing eye. Okay, this is the right. When it's the left eye, it's Heru. Okay, so that's another rendition. I like this one. Looks like the night sky. And this is the earth. He represents the earth. So what are we seeing? We're seeing like a dome structure, right? And a flat earth. This doesn't speak heliocentric. So why are these traditions being forgotten? They were accurate. The Egyptians knew the cosmos. They weren't primitive. They were highly sophisticated. So this is not the babblings of primitive people. They never changed this model of the cosmos. They never changed it. This is what it is. Once again, Geb, god of earth, or the earth god, cosmic father. Nut, goddess of the sky, the cosmic mother. Nut and Geb form an opening gateway or birth canal through which all physical matter is born into existence. This can be seen symbolically as the cosmic age. Ancient Egyptian texts speak of all life pouring from the union of Geb and Nut. Egyptian gods and goddesses are not vestiges of a remote and forgotten tradition, but active elements that are alive in all of us today. This is a very nature-based cosmos that our ancient ancestors are giving us. Here it is again. For some reason, this time they're showing his genitalia and hers as well. So they had no shame in their game. So this one is nice too. I forget the name of the person here, but they often show, like the first one we saw, someone holding her up. And they got a lot of assistance going on here. They got these two holding his arms and then he holding her up. Okay, and then we got the two on the side just praying for her, it looks like. I know that's Canoe, the potter. I believe he's the potter. Okay, I just love, you know, the cosmology we have going on here. And, you know, oh, that's from one of our old slides that showed that Egypt is an uncle to Sumer, or Nimrod, who founded Sumer. So this is just a slide where we're establishing that, you know, ancient Tameri is an older civilization than Sumer. They both come from what scripture knows to be a quote unquote black man. So what would Sumer be if they are coming in from Ham, from under Ham or out from Ham, right? So that's just to show you that there. So, you know, either way, when they try to make Sumer like, oh, she's the oldest one, it would have still been from a, what they call a black stock. Ham is always known to be black in scripture. I did have a question in one of my scriptures. If this is the oldest thing, which it is, and it's in the Americas, where is Shem and where is Japheth? So it seems to me that Shem and Japheth, the brothers of Ham, were actually coming from Ham as well. You see what I mean? Because Shem would be a product of Sumer, where Shem dwelled. And Japheth would be a product of, they would come after Sumer, because that's, as we read, first it was the brown, then a yellow. So that's speaking to Japheth. Well, how do I put it? Japheth is usually seen as the Greeks. So it seems that Ham is actually the firstborn. Then Shem is coming out of Ham. This is a Bible genealogy. It comes from Genesis chapter 10, verse 6 to 20. So this is scripture that we're looking at. So if scripture is telling us that Shem, it has no place before Ham, because how do we say that? Is because this is the oldest. Let me move myself up a little bit. Out of the way. How about right there? Okay. Shut it off. If Egypt is the only civilization, the only first civilization, which I hope we did prove that, because Sumer's down here, right? Nimrod founded Sumer and they're down here. So Sumer is the one that they keep saying is old, but it's not possible if she's the nephew of Egypt, which is called Mizraim in the Bible. So where is Shem? Shem is coming out of Ham, if we go with this Genesis breakdown, because the fantasy is that Sumer is older. That's not the truth, though, because Sumer is coming out of Ham, which means that Shem comes out of Ham. And Japheth comes out of Ham as well. So that's what's not being said. There, yeah. where are their cultures at? It has to be Sumer because these are the two oldest civilizations. So Shem has to be from Sumer. What else do we have? Oh, that was our BC. Just a little quick review, I guess, our BC timeline. So how would it be if we didn't have this midpoint and we just counted chronologically without, this confusion? I think what they're trying to do is make it as if once they created Christ, they started a new counting system or something, or they're on the backward side of life. And after Christ, now we're going forward. Is that the idea? Because this BCAC stuff, it really is annoying. What it means is that we're not actually in 2000 because they're making one start here when one should start back here. So maybe we can do the math one day and realize that we're much older than 2000 years. But you see how desperately they're cutting off our ancestors? So they've taken them out of time by creating a timeline like this with a BC. So everything is centered around he's the middle of everything. You see how they've done everything they could to kill our ancestors or make them in some alternate dimension of time? This should be a solid line, 1 through whatever. Not we start with 10,000 and work our way down, and then here we start working our way up again. So confusing. Chaos. Who's the god of chaos? Set. Because this makes no sense, and it's done for a reason, people. It's done to, I guess this would be like a new world order, wouldn't it? Because you done changed time. You done made the earth younger when she's much older. Because this counting system cuts into the time, the count. Anyway, let's move on. I think we should start counting the real years. And I'm going to try to figure out what year are we really in, And that would start with the union of Upper and Lower Tameri, ancient America, when Menes united the two kingdoms. I think that's when we should start. At the time when Menes united the two kingdoms, Upper and Lower Egypt, creating the first united kingdom. So this is like a review, I guess. I want to show that Amen is a deity from ancient America, because what? Egypt was in America. Who is Amen-Ra? An American deity. So who are all the monotheists really calling on? Why do Muslims end prayers with Amen? Well, here's Muslims, Jews, and Christians, we can make that bigger, have many similarities in the way they pray. Among them, the use of the phrase Amen or Amin to end prayers, or to punctuate key phrases in important prayers. But the point is, Muslims, Jews, and Christians are all calling who? Amen. Amen. Amen-Ra. Now, I believe his original name was just Ra. I'm starting to think that the priesthood cooked up this Amen part. There's the holy city named after Heru. Heru is the first child of the first Trinity. This is his holy city. This would be what they call Jerusalem, but we call Jerusalem here in the Americas. Peru is in America. So what does that mean? America is the Holy Land, because this is the holy city. If this is Jerusalem, and it is, but again, it was renamed, and what do we know about the monotheists? They rename things as a means to steal it, and then say that they were first. I will be visiting this place at some point. That's all. I used to want to go to Africa when I was ignorant that America is the motherland. So this looks just heavenly. I hope they rebuild this. I really do. Talk about ancestors. Oh boy. This is our holy city, y'all. In America. That is why I say Egypt, it was in America. Peru is named after Heru. Let me see if I can get Heru up in here. Why am I going back? Okay. Here is Serapis. When I told you we could read the bottom here. This is the conglomerate god that the Greeks created when Alexander, quote unquote, invaded ancient America. Serapis was created. And this image, remember, Alexander wanted to be made into a god. Although he died and he never saw this, his general, Ptolemy, commissioned for this to be made. I believe, and this is something that only I've heard myself say, I never heard anybody else say it. This is Alexander that we're worshiping, because Ptolemy did not look like this when we see what he looked like. The first European pharaoh who was Ptolemy, Cleopatra's people. This is when Egypt was taken over by Europeans, Caucasians. And this is Serapis. He was from the 4th century BC, right? So technically Jesus himself is not a BC deity. As this guy was created in the 4th century. So let's look at our timeline again. Okay, so that image we saw was created right near here, the 4th century BC, because this is the BC. I believe, yeah, so this is where, actually, I'm sorry. So Christ was created right here. After, so say now we count down 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, there's Jesus. And then they start counting from his alleged birth. But Christ was created in the Catholic Church on paper. Just like we were paper genocided, he was paper born because he never lived. And I just want our people who are ready to hear that to receive it. That's all. You know, it's not to offend people. This is when you really do your homework and you read. Okay, so what? Okay, that was what we were talking about. Okay, so it's a Roman copy after a Greek original from the 4th century BC, stored in the Serapeum of Alexandria. So they had his even the temple he was in was called a Serapeum after him, Serapis, a combination of Osiris and the Apis bull. This is a conglomerate deity, Serapis, Serapis. And turns out Jesus is the same thing. Well, is Jesus, but they're both conglomerate. He's a conglomerate of Egyptian deities because they were first in ancient America, Osar and the Apis bull, Osirapis. And then Jesus is when the Romans come. So you know, so the Greeks didn't have any deities. They created them sort of after the fact because they were trying to build up their version of us, right? So before us, they didn't have all their deities, and this is their first one. He was before Athena and all of them, right? Because this is after Alexander invades. He gets to be made into a deity. This is Alexander. I don't care what nobody says. That's Alexander. Alexander looked a lot like this, but he didn't have a beard. And he wanted to be made into a deity, and the priesthood did it. Those guys that we were reading about in this book, these are the ones who created this. If we really put our ducks in a row, they would have been the brothers that, and they talk about creating a white man, right? Here he is. They didn't just create a white man, they made him a deity. okay? But you know what? We are a good people. We're going to forgive the priesthood. I know sometimes they watch my videos and be like, damn, that brother's getting on our nerves. I imagine that at least some of them have seen somebody, they watching us, come on now. And so we have to remind them that we're good, peaceful Tamarians. And we know that they went against our ancestors, but we're the good guys, right? So we tend to do what is right by our ancestors. They are our priesthood, they committed the offense of creating this when Alexander demanded. They did wait, they held out, but they still went ahead and did it later on. This would have been the Amen priesthood of the 18th dynasty, I believe. Yeah, they were the ones that got expelled with Akhenaten, and then they have to go to Africa, okay? But yeah, they created this. They gave him the face of one of their children because, as we found out, they created the white man, right? So here he is, deified. And the thing is, our system would have embraced him, but they wanted to get rid of us and only have him. That was the problem. That was the problem. They were erasing us. Why would the priesthood do that? Well, they betrayed us, right? By making him. So why would they want us around to know that they betrayed us? So they got to erase our legacy and our deities from our mind and fill it with this. But what did they have to gain by doing this? Well, they were the most powerful priesthood, the Amen priesthood. Now, we don't want to get them confused with the deity. I always have to say that. These are men. The deity is a deity. The men are doing what they do. So it's not the deity's fault. It's the men that were empowered by being adherents to the deity. But they no longer wish to serve the people. And so they became more about serving themselves. So as they rose up their Caucasian children, they used their Caucasian children to come against us because we presented a problem. The priesthood let this happen. So they know the people are not happy. The indigenous are not happy. So their answer to that is just shut them down. And they shut down our temples, and we were not allowed, our ancestors were not allowed to honor their deities because the priesthood helped this to be made, and then the priesthood was there. You see, they saved their lives, is what we're led to believe, when they made this. In other words, that was the compromise. You make us gods, and we won't, have our way with you. So you saved yourself, but then it became a contract. And you never came back and told us what you did. So now you're working on the behalf of the enemy and not the people that put you in your office, in your seats. The priesthood, let's just say this, indigenous, we have to make a concerted effort to be humane with these men. They need it. They have lost all their sense of anything in the realm of compassion. They are drunk or intoxicated with the idea of controlling the world. Just like our Moors, I'm sorry, Moors, but you have all the symptoms of being infected with the very same disease. Power hunger. You talk about we were part of your empire. No, we came before your empire. We were just one of your greatest acquisitions. We were the greatest acquisition. And that's why you needed to denationalize us, because you didn't want us to tell the world the truth about where you came from, what you were doing. That's why we're always a problem, the indigenous man. Always a problem for the Moorish legacy. Because what the Moors are doing, let me show you what they're doing. So the Moors, sorry, brothers, you can still, you don't have to stay Moors. Ain't nobody got a gun to your head. I see a lot of our brothers is getting out of the what do you call it? The fraternities, and they going on YouTube with that shit. They letting the world know, I'm out. I'm not in it no more. See, the times have changed, indigenous. Our brothers are trying to get up out of that Greek paradigm. So here's what the Moors are doing. The Moors are saying, whether they know it or not, they might not be aware of it, The Moors are saying, forget all of this history back here where you Negroes was in charge. Okay, forget all of that. Let's start where Muhammad began. And Muhammad, if we could put a 7 here, Jesus was at the 4. But no, wait a minute. Yeah, Serapis was at the 4th century, right? So he's right next to this 1. And the Islam is starting with Muhammad, and that would have been in the 7th century, right? So they want to begin where they began, but not at where we began. So so in other words, all this back here becomes null and void, because they're going to tell you that this was all about Islam too, somehow, some way. There was none of you indigenous practicing that bad, evil Egyptology. So that's the problem I have with the Moors. That's all. I mean, again, we are peaceful, indigenous Americans. The Moors, I think their show was supposed to take place in what we are calling the East, which is really the West. And maybe they can go back there, but what's going to happen, like what is happening, is that their people are always going to run here because they don't want to be oppressed. They don't want to be oppressed. So that is why they come here. And that's why we have to be oppressed, because, anyway, I'm going to see if I can pause our video for a minute, and I shall be back, I hope. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna love Zoom. I can take bathroom breaks. Hallelujah. Okay, so we left off at a screen share. And yes, indigenous, what I would like to start promoting is redemption of our priesthood. That would also inevitably lead to some kind of, I just want to put it out there, some kind of resolution with the Iroquois, because I'm telling y'all what I'm seeing, and then no one's talking about it. We have to figure out what went wrong, or at least once we do that, how do we fix the infighting between Iroquois and Algonquin? Because it's looking like the Algonquin, not the Algonquin, I'm sorry, the Iroquois had a lot to do in helping the colonizer. And of course, that would put the Algonquins at a disadvantage. So we did talk about looking at the great law of peace, but I think I want to share my screen one more time. I don't think I have anything else to show. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay. I want to stop for a minute because I talk about the council of gods that all agreed that Heru, an American deity, Heru is named after Heru, and it was called Jerusalem, piece of Heru, and Heru is he would be the Christ figure in our original Trinity. Oh, people, I wish we could rebuild our true system because it has a lot to offer us in terms of giving us our position and our birthright back. But I want to see if I could read. Excuse me. Oh, now you see the book. Okay. Now you see the book. Okay. Okay. So I told you about Set. This is a photo, a rendering of Set. I believe that monotheism is a creation of this deity. This is the deity that wants the power. So anything that we see in the world that's power hungry is most likely powered or empowered by this energy, Set. Okay, so let's read a little bit and see if we could make it short. I might jump around. Yeah, because I do want to just get, and I got a children's book on purpose because I figured I want to simplify this. Okay, I want to simplify this, but this is a bunch. They done stretched it out. Let's start here. Okay, so it's a children's book, but for us adults who may not know the story of, namely Set and Heru. Now that's the Trinity, the story of Osa, Set, and Heru. And I love that they use their original names, not Osiris, Isis, and Horus, but that's their original names. Osa, or Asar, Aset, and Heru, an ancient Egyptian legend. So that's the family down there. And in the background, here's the jealous brother, Set. Yahweh, like this deity, is a storm, war, chaos deity. Now, they don't often use the term chaos when talking about Yahweh, but this is the most ancient version of Yahweh. He started off an Egyptian or Tamarian deity. He was basically our malevolent deity, okay? Yet he did serve a purpose. He helped Ra to rise or ride in the boat of the heavens. So the rightful king is Asar. There he is. I love Osar's getup, man. I think that is one of the most beautiful royal wear I've seen. And Osar is always in white, man. Look at him, just absolutely regal. Okay, she's known to the world as Isis, but her name is, as we see at the top, is Aset. There she is. And she's also lovely. You know, I mean, it's a little odd, I admit, and I know our people gonna have an issue. That boy is way too big to be drinking from his mother's breast. I don't know. I've never seen it rendered this way. And it's a rather not quite kosher, and I really apologize because I think they are, he, I don't know, maybe they nursed longer in ancient times, I don't know. But that act of nursing the child apparently is sacred. So when we see this, know that it's not meant to be looked at in the context of what we are uh, or might entertain. Usually when we see her with him as a much like an infant. So I'm not sure why they chose this picture. I've never seen it before. I think it's creative license. And I'm not sure it was the greatest choice because now everybody's going to say, you see that book he was showing? Good Lord. See, you can't win for winning sometimes. So let me just I'm here, not the best image, I admit. He is a child, but in our society, that would be not quite what is seen as the norm. So that aside, there's a lot of images that we would find not understanding this legacy. There's many pictures you'll see and you'll think, oh my God. But see, we have to know that we cannot look at this in the context of modernity, excuse me. So what I'm saying is there's other images that people might not agree with, like they show a penis, men, the god men, he's always shown with a very erect penis. And so in our modern world, be like, what the hell? No, hell no. How do you say? So, we gotta let that go. This is the first Trinity ever, okay? And we're just not used to seeing it, Okay, so I'm gonna read. And this is talking about when this is now Set, that God we looked at has now this deity, he has now murdered the king. Okay, he murdered his own brother. Okay. But he doesn't know that the brother does father an heir. Heru is the heir. Okay. They have an immaculate conception because he impregnates a Set after he has been murdered by his brother. So he impregnates her, and this is your first immaculate conception. Okay, facts, y'all. This is no game. Your boy is not making this up. Okay, okay. This is the most ancient version of a holy story you will find on earth. Okay. When Set found out, now Set is the little guy, not the one nursing, but the other one. Again, Set is the jealous God, jealous of the true king. They're all brother and sister, these three. And there is another female that is his counterpart, but they don't have her pictured here. So royal families intermarry. That's always been, so that's another thing that we'd be like, oh my God, this is how they did it, y'all. And we have to respect it. Okay, especially because it's our tradition. When Set found out that Heru had been born, Set got very angry. So this is an oversimplified children's version of the story. Okay, but I want to read because I want to show you how the gods all agreed Is this recording? I guess it is. The gods all agreed that Heru, now here's a better picture of Heru because now he's much younger. Although he looks kind of grown, I'm sorry, he does look kind of grown there too. Oops, sorry. He's usually a baby. I can tell you that for sure. That's the first Madonna, okay? But we've all been convinced that she's a product of the devil. Yeah, okay, whatever. Then you get one Mary doing the same thing. Well, they never show her nursing, but you get Mary and now it's all good. But this is the original and it's all bad. That's crazy. When you really think about it, it's crazy. When Set found out that Heru had been born, that's the little guy in her lap, his nephew, Set got very angry. Set began to think bad thoughts. If Heru grows up, the world will want him to be king because he is the son of Osar, and he's good and true. I want to be the king forever, so I can't let Heru grow up. Now, this is the oversimplified children's version, but I just want to get an idea, you know? Then Set said, I will find Heru and I will kill him as I killed his father. Brothers out there, you ever feel like you're hunted down? This is why. We're the heirs to the true king. The first king on earth was Menes, Narmer. He united North America and South America at that time. So he was the first, shall we say, we could almost call him international king because he united two kingdoms. So he was the first to do that. That was Narmer, Menes, also called Menes. So we are the throne. The brothers that's being hunted down so many times and unjustly and unlawfully shot. This is related to this. And as you are growing in wisdom, you realize that this is exactly what it is. You just got to get to that level, you know, when you, again, line up the ducks. Set said, I will find Heru and I will kill him as I killed his father, Asar. When Aset, that's the mother, heard this, she said, I must take Heru to a place that is safe, away from Set until Heru grows up. So Aset ran away with Heru to a safe place with the help of the scorpion goddess Selket and her 7 scorpion friends to protect Heru from harm. So that's Selket. I gotta wait till the thing. She's a scorpion goddess that protects the baby Heru there in his mother's lap. And her 7 assistant scorpion. Heru, that's the baby, asked his mother, Aset, Mother, who am I and where do I come from? Isn't that the question of indigenous? Aset answered, Heru, my son, you, all people, and all of the gods and goddesses come from the spirit of Ra, and you're a special child because you will bring justice and truth to the world. Well, we will bring that, brothers, because once we get in our rightful position, there will be no more need for deception in the world. We are the rightful heirs to this most ancient legacy. So once it's almost like putting the shoe that fits. It's the shoe that fits. There are forces that hope that we never get back to our rightful place. But it has to happen. And it is happening. Aset also told Heru, the mother also told the child, that he should always be good and true and never tell lies or think bad thoughts about others. As Heru grew up, Aset, his mother, fed him vegetables and fruits to make him strong and healthy. Heru's favorite food was lettuce. Well, they tell us that all the gods like lettuce. Even the bad one only ate lettuce. That's his uncle Set. His uncle wants to take his place after killing his father. That's what this is, okay? Aset and the spirit of Osar taught, Osar is the father that was deceased. Aset and the spirit of Asar taught Heru about justice and goodness. Asar and Aset, the mother and father, told Heru, the child, that he would one day challenge his uncle Set because Set was an evil king and did not teach the people of the world how to be good. This is our ancient story, just told in the form that it could be read to a child, but everything is, this is what happened. Aset told Heru, that's the mother, told her son, Heru, that Set was selfish and all he cared about was himself. Well, we see that with all our nobles, the ones we call noble, are they serving the people or are they serving themselves? And we have to answer that question with open eyes. If we're in a system that was created by a monarchy, where we are made to pay their bills, that's slavery. So that means just what this just said. Set was selfish and all he cared about was himself. When you have to have all the wealth in the world when you're already pretty damn wealthy, why must you let the people live in poverty? This is how you know when a monarchy is for the people or for itself or themselves. Walk around and act like everything is hunky-dory, but seeing that people are struggling everywhere and sitting on the world's wealth, acting like I'm just sitting here, minding my business. Don't mind me. When your nobility, or those who have made themselves your nobility through colonization or trickery thereafter, when they don't care about your situation, that's how you know that is a self-serving nobility, which is not very noble whatsoever. What could be done is this bogus debt to be erased because it's not there anyway. There's no legal money. So we don't have no debt. We have fiat, okay? Fiat can't create debt. Heru thought, soon I will go to to Set and tell him to stop acting selfishly and stop hurting all people. Then one day Heru was old enough, he went to his uncle Set and told him, "You are selfish because you only care about yourself and you hurt people with your bad words and your wrong action." Set replied, "You are a little boy. I do not have to listen to you. I am the king, and that is all I care about." Heru said, "I am young, but I know the truth. You cannot be the king because you are not following the rules of Ma'at." Ma'at was like order. She was the goddess of order. You are not the right king of excuse me, it is a little late. You are not the right king of Egypt or America. You killed my father and stole his legacy. That's what I'm putting that word in there. Stole his things is what they wrote. It was a lot more than that. This is not right. So give back everything you stole and say you are sorry for what you did. That is what indigenous will have to do, roughly. And that process has started. Shout out to Chief Morning Thunder, who has served the papers to make Set give back everything he stole and say sorry. Reclassifying us, calling us Black when we are American Indian, just so that they can take what they stole from us. Our land, our wealth, a land of milk and honey, and we only get what? Water, the basics, if that, having to pay to live on our land. They don't even do that in Africa, y'all. The land is theirs. They work the land. Granted, I mean, it's not like they're making tons of money, but they are living free on their land, even in Africa. In America, land of the free, the land showing free for indigenous, is it? And we have folks like Mr. Gates buying up all our land for what? He's not doing it to serve us, right? Who is he serving? Himself, like we just read, right? How do you come to somebody else's country and decide that there's too many of their people there? If there's too many of us here for you, you can always go back home where there's hopefully more of you. But to boldly be basically the bloodline of a foreigner in a country that's not your homeland, not your indigenous homeland, buy up all their land in an effort to compromise their health with some strange food. Who the hell do some people think they are? That has to stop. I'm a peaceful American. I just speak that which the ancestors put on my heart to speak. And I say, and it's the truth. Which of us indigenous can go to, I don't know, some European country and just start buying up their land in an effort to make food that is not going to be healthy for them? Go home and do that. How are you going to come to somebody's land and try to get rid of them? And then think that the land is going to support you? Set said, I do not care what you say. I will not give up what I stole. I guess that's what Mr. Gates is trying to say. Heru battles with Set with the help of his mother, Aset. Okay. Then Heru said, if you do not stop being bad and hurting people, I will have to fight you. Since Set did not want to follow the path of goodness, Heru asked his mother Aset to help. So the battle between Heru and Set began. Okay, so yeah, he wrote it twice, it's a typo. Okay. Heru and Set wrestled and fought, but neither could win. Set threw dirt in Heru's eyes. So the uncle threw dirt in the nephew's eyes. Now the nephew is the rightful heir, Heru. Okay, like my name down there, Heru. Heru could not see anything anymore. So we lost sight of who we were when Set threw the dust of lies about who we are in our eyes. That's what he's trying to say. Heru's eyes hurt so much that he ran away. He went to a quiet place where he could be all alone and think about his problem. He sulked and sobbed and thought that he was alone. Heru thought within himself, how can I win against Set to stop his evil if he is as strong as I am? You see, this is an interesting part because that's what I mean when I'm saying we're not really fighting the white man. We're fighting someone who's not showing their face, but they have the same or similar strength to us. They are our equal, pretty much, on the negative side. So I like that he wrote that. You know, it's a cue to tell you that the enemy that we're against is one of our own. Okay, but you'll never see it. They go as far as painting themselves white. That in that bloodline, they have paintings of themselves as white, but they were not. But they had them, their painters, portrait makers, paint them as Caucasian. Then the goddess Heteru appears. Heteru is another daughter of Ra. She is the light of the sun and the cousin of Heru. Heteru said, my dear Heru, I have come to heal your right eye. Let me touch it with my power, and you will see again. You must look within yourself and know that I am the strength of the sun, and I am in your heart. Then you will have the strength to face Set again. The power or the strength of the sun. Carbon. Then the god Jehuti, that's Thoth, In another video, we referred to him as Ningazita, and I said that was my favorite version of his name. But now I realize it can't be my favorite version of his name because I have to go with the original name. At the time of that video, I thought that that was Tehuti's original name because I was under the delusion that Suma was first, like most people are, until I looked further. So as much as I like Ningazita, I cannot, of good conscience, use that version of his name because it's all about going to the original name. So Jehuti or Tehuti said to Heru, always remember that the way to face bad people is with calm and not with anger. If you become angry, you will not know what to do when the time comes. Set is not your real enemy, so do not become angry with him. Okay. Heru asked, what do you mean? Yeah, I want to know what you mean too. Set is your uncle. Yes, family. Yeah. But see, they don't tell us we're family, that we're family. We might have some compassion, but our enemy is so slick, our family enemy, that they never show their face. They're too busy hiding behind the white man, trying to say that it's the white man, it's the white man. No, my Negro, it's you. So I kind of don't agree with this part because if we knew who it was, we might be able to have some better understanding, shall we say, okay? Set is your uncle. He is acting badly because he is sick with diseases of greed, hatred, and anger, and jealousy. He's a jealous God. He has forgotten that his spirit comes from Ra, and that all people are his brothers and sisters. He became selfish and does not care for anybody but himself. So you must help him remember by letting him know when he is acting badly. Then Heru asked, how can I help Set? Good question. Jehuti answered, if you want to help people who are doing bad things and saying bad things, you must stay calm, tell the truth, and show them the right way to act. Always remember Ma'at. Heru went to Set again and said, I have returned to face you once more. Let's go to the court of gods and goddesses and see what they say. This is the part that fills me with contentment and a certain trust in the forces. So Heru and Set went in front of Ra and the court of gods and goddesses. Amen. Amen, Ra. Heru said, that's the good guy, the natural heir, the firstborn. Set killed my father and stole the kingdom. This is not right. Set said, Heru's too young to be king. I should be the king. Besides, I am strong and I won't give up being the king no matter what you say. I can beat up anyone who does not agree with me. Oh, gosh. The truth is, as I said before, he sounds big and bad, don't he? Set. Set is one of the biggest cowards in this game that you'll ever see. And I said it already, because we never see his face. Our enemy, which is a brother and a group of them at that, generations at that, hiding somewhere. So no, this sounds really tough and all that, but the truth is, Set ain't showing us his face. He's going to continue to blame everything. Set is going to try to say that the white man did this, not me. That's not possible. That's not possible. One picture of that is, I once said in one of my videos, I don't know if people caught that, but when the Moors were overtaken by their mulatto children, so you get overtaken, your mulatto children come here for some reason, we don't know, but they could have took Spain back and been through with it, but Spain wasn't enough. So for some odd, unknowable reason, when your children defeat you, they come running over here to America. I wonder why. They didn't even know. They didn't even know where we were. How did they find us? So your son beat you up and said, "Take me to the Americas now, Daddy." Okay, I'll take you right there. I'll take you right there. Well, that's what they tell us, right? They got defeated. So they was like, I guess, punk bitches. I'll take you right to him. Please don't kill me, please. That's what you telling us, okay? Mighty men of old. But punk shit when it comes to their children kicking their ass. Nah, that's not what happened. Wait, let's get it right. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. That is what we are told. They weren't forced as much as they say. They wanted their children to come here. They showed them how to get here. They could have took them another route. They could have took them somewhere else. But the point I was going to make earlier, when was the backup going to come? After your children come here and you get yourself together, you could have came, and maybe together we could have subdued your wayward child and sent him back home to you, or at least teach him a lesson where you never got backup. So I guess the Moors want us to think they got utterly defeated, almost like unto death. And they could not come to help us, knowing that they brought their murderous children. Why would they want to hurt us, though? Is it that the Moors really wanted to make us monotheistic, and that's why all this happened? The Moors couldn't live knowing that we were here not following Allah, and that just made the Moors so upset. Why? What do you care? Is it because of the gold and riches that were here in America that you couldn't sit your little fast ass still? Jehudi said to Heru, wait a minute. Oh, we read that already. Sorry. Oops, lost our place while I talk. Okay, so Set and Heru, or Heru and Set, went in front of Ra in the court of gods and goddesses. Heru said, Set killed my father and stole the kingdom. This is not right. Set said, Heru's too young to be king. I should be the king. Besides, I am strong and I won't give up being the king, no matter what you say. I can beat up anyone who does not agree. The court of gods and goddesses could not decide what to do. So they sent a letter to the goddess Net. Oh, maybe they mean Newt. I never saw Net before. Neith, I think they mean Neith. The goddess Neith, Neith, I think they mean. Now I heard of Neith before, Neith. Neith is the goddess of power and positive action. When she received the letter from the court of gods and goddesses, she said, "What is this injustice? How can it be right for Set to kill Asar and then steal the kingdom away from Heru?" That's what I say, girl. The court, they couldn't figure that out. I guess, I don't know. This is just a story, but anyway, it still goes the right way. I say that Heru should be the king and that Set should not. The truth must always win over lies. The court of gods and goddesses were still not sure what to do, since Set was yelling at them and threatening them, so they could not think clearly. Okay. Set yelled, "If you do not allow me to be the king, I will hurt all of you and make you sorry. I should be the king, and anyone who says otherwise, I will feel my anger." Set was acting like a big bully. The court of gods and goddesses decided to send a letter to the spirit of Asar in the kingdom of the afterlife. Asar is Heru's father that was murdered by this raging king that wasn't supposed to be king. So they sent a letter to the spirit of Asar in the kingdom of the afterlife to see what he would say should be done. When the spirit of Asar, in his form as Seeker, the god of the afterlife, received the letter, he right away began to write back to the court of the gods and goddesses. Asar Seker wrote, "Dear court of gods and goddesses, think about what happened to me. Set killed my body and then stole the kingdom away from my son, Heru. Is this right? Set is selfish and does not care for people as I do. You are the court that upholds truth and justice on earth. America is that. You must do what is right, otherwise there will be no peace and order in the world or the kingdom of the afterlife." All right, now, Set. There he is. I think I showed that to you already. Set. That's the god of monotheism, behind all the noise. The gods of monotheism, they don't have names, they have titles. Allah is not a name, it is a title or a description, the deity we read. That is the same with Yahweh. So these are nameless deities, basically. I wonder why they wouldn't want to say the name. When you're dealing with a deity, as I said before, you must deal with his name to get his benefits, his mercy or whatever, his cooperation, her cooperation. You got to say the name. But monotheism has gotten away since the 4th or 7th century. They've gotten away with not having a distinct name for this powerful deity. And then Jesus has 2 names, Yeshua and Jesus. And Yeshua does not translate to Jesus. It translates to Joshua. So what is Jesus' name? If that is the name why all men should be saved, shouldn't there not be any confusion about that? Why are these monotheistic deities got something going on with their name, like they don't want us to know it or something? I wonder why don't they tell us their name? I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. Why can't we know your name, deity? I just can't figure it out. Okay. When the court of the gods and goddesses received the letter from Asar, they decided that Heru should be the king. On that major decision, I should be wide awake. When the court of the gods and goddesses received the letter from Asar, they decided that Heru should be the king of Egypt, and that Set should take back his place of serving Ra by protecting Ra's boat from the serpent of ignorance. Set did not want to do this, but he saw that Heru was not afraid of it. Set knew that Heru would never give up fighting for the truth. Set realized that Heru would never become angry or confused. This made Heru more powerful because he had the help of Ma'at, Tahuti, Heteru, Aset, and all the other gods and goddesses. That's another reason why this deity only wants to be known as the only deity. Because if we know that there's other deities, he's going to be outnumbered. Set also knew that he could never trick Heru and make him give up Ma'at, order. Set knew that he could never make Heru give up order. So Set said, I now realize the injustice which I have done. I ask you all to forgive me, and I bow to the feather of Ma'at. That's the feather of Ma'at right there. It's also the feather of the indigenous. So, can we read that together? Maybe not, but that's the symbol of Heru and Set tying the knot. Now that everything was settled, Heru and Set became friends. Imagine that. So they tied a knot on the symbol of unity, SMA, excuse me, SEMA, the lotus plants and papyrus plants, and pledged to never hurt each other ever again. Both Heru and Set had achieved unity with their higher true selves, so they were very happy. See, this story doesn't end with a thief getting away with stealing a birthright. It ends with both of the characters happy. You see? Heru said, from now on, the SEMA symbol, which is the symbol of them tying a knot, two arch enemies, and in the end of the story, they are working together. This is the future we have if we come back to our indigenous systems. Heru said, from now on, the SEMA symbol will be a sign for all people who want to practice unity and harmony with other people and with my father Asar and my grandfather Ra, the sun. Any person who practices goodwill, truth, justice, peace, and love can use this symbol so that the world may know that they are bringing harmony to the world and that they come in peace. Set said, Heru, you have spoken well. I agree with you. Let this be a symbol for all good things. Dua Sima, Dua Sima, Dua Sima, Dua Sima. Hail unity, hail unity, hail unity, hail unity. Now Heru became strong and powerful in his name,
Heru Set and Heru, no, Set said to Heru, I see that Ra gave me a perfect job to protect his boat against the serpent of darkness, which is always trying to bring ignorance, selfishness, anger, hatred, and greed to the world. The serpent of darkness always tries to stop the light of Ra from shining on the world with love, peace, and goodness. This is my rightful place, to serve Ra and all of my powers, with all of my power. Everybody has a rightful place in the world, and this place is mine. Heru, your rightful place is as king of Tameri. I'm using Tameri. So may you live in Hetep peace forever and guide the people of the world so that they may always act with Ma'at, order, the goddess of order. Then they too will be able to find their rightful place and discover happiness and joy in their life on earth until they go to join Asa in the afterlife. Dua Heru Dua Heru I salute you, Heru, king of Tameri. So Heru, as the king of Tameri, I'm using the word Tameri because that's what we call ourselves, is his new name, in his new name, Heru, and he took care of all the people with love and compassion. He showed them how to live by Ma'at, truth and justice. Okay, excuse me. Heru showed them how to remember Asa by always thinking of him when they eat and drink. Heru told them that they should live in peace so that when they die, they can go to live with Asa in the kingdom of the afterlife forever and ever. So the two eyes of Heru became known as the essence of goodness, righteousness, courage, and peace for generations to come. Neru Heru, Heru is the victorious one. 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 Even today, every time the name of Heru is mentioned, it brings a good feeling to the heart. It's a version of the word hero as well. May the blessings of his eyes, or the eyes of Heru, be with you always, especially in times of need. Whenever you need strength and courage and you don't know the right way to act, think of Heru and you will know the right way. Dua Heru, Dua Heru, Dua Heru, Dua Heru. Adorations to Heru. Heru Pa Krat, Heru the child sitting on the lotus of creation. Heru asked the Set, Mother, who am I and where do I come from? Aset answered, Heru, my son, you, all people, and all the gods and goddesses come from the spirit of Ra, and you are a special child because you will bring justice and truth to the world. May the story of Osa, Aset, and Heru live on in you. And so that is our book here, the story of Osa, Aset, and Heru. Finally read that. And I think I'm going to have to call it a night. You know, I went pretty long, and I think I did what I want to do with the gods, the deities. I like when we read that they are living because we have the earth and the sky, Geb and Nut. But then we have Shu and Tefnut. And someone pointed out that we're always breathing in Shu, that god, because he's the air. And Tefnut is the moisture that makes it easier to breathe. So they're always with us, you know, him and him. What do I mean by him? I'm getting tired, aren't I? I'm starting to get a little delusional. I think I was referring to the story we just read, but I was saying that the gods are always in our life. When we breathe, we're breathing in Shu, you know, like I just said, and sleep talking a little bit, forgive me. It's past my bedtime. But yes, the Council of God agreed. The Council of Gods agreed that Heru should get his legacy. Heru is getting his birthright legacy, just like we are. And so I often think of Heru in that way, the deity that will help me to get my land back is a deity who also got his inheritance back. Okay, thank you for watching. Sorry that I was semi-dozing on you. I guess I'm a little tired, but I thank you for watching. Until next time, peace, blessings, love, health, wealth, joy, happiness, your land back, your identity back, and all the good things. Thank you again. Be well, stay well. I'll see you next time.